You want to ratchet down that level because that proximity, the closer you can get to them, it helps build that relationship faster.
All right, this is Leverage Podcast, episode 81, and we're talking to Jesse Zagorsky. Jesse, how are you doing, man?
I'm amazing. And Pavel, you're probably one of the few human beings that can say my last name correctly.
Of course, because I'm Russian. That's why, right?
I know.
So anyways, Jesse, I know you're a team leader with EXP Realty. You got a huge network around you. You've been around the block for quite some time. You're a well-known guy. And can you tell us more about yourself, who you are, what's the story of Jesse Zagorsky, and what's your experience and how you got to where you are now?
Yeah, I've been around the block since New Kids on the Block. No, not exactly. 20 years. Almost that long. It's been 20 years
Hey,
in
the
real
Gen
estate.
Zs won't know who they are.
Yeah, they won't even get that reference. That's fine. So yeah,
I know.
I've been in real estate for 20 years. I've done pretty much any position you could think of in a real estate office. I've probably done it. I've been a listing agent. I've been a buyer's agent. I ran a team as big as 21 agents, selling a couple hundred homes a year. I went deep into the world of REO. I sold a lot of foreclosures during those, the last downturn. I ran my own brokerage for 14 years with my mom. My mom is still my business partner, so I'm a certified mama's boy. I don't know if you know that, but mama's boy.
All right.
And very
Hi,
grateful
Mom.
to work with my mom all these years. And we went to EXP about 3.5 years ago, and now I have an organization that I still run that's growing, but it's about 1,100 agents all over the U.S., Canada, a couple other countries that I'm now connected to.
Nice, awesome. So why don't you dive into this more about the building? I mean, the name of the podcast is relationship and productivity. So let's talk about building relationships starting with lead gen. I know you do probably a lot of lead generation. So what type of lead generation actually work the best for you and your team, and how you guys when you run your team or your business?
Well, it's funny because the lead gen has actually morphed over the years. I mean, so I'm a real estate nerd. Like really, I've always dove into.
Do you still sell homes?
I do. So, I mean,
yeah, there we go.
I definitely pulled back my focus. Like I shrunk my team down, and we'll still sell 20 million this year. Like I personally will sell 20 million this year, which in San Diego is not a huge amount. It's not nothing, right? Like I still actively sell
perfect.
homes.
Yeah.
I keep myself engaged because I want to know it's working from a lead gen standpoint, and it's been such a moving target over the last few days.
17%. Yeah, exactly.
I'm future pacing the interest rate. Plus, when it's actually only high sixes, right? It makes you feel like I actually been doing that a lot. It makes people feel so much better when you anchor at the high number and then you go, oh, it's only 6. Like, oh, scared me, 17%. Anyway, so it's the things that used to work. I think going back to your sphere, going back to the relationships is working so much better for so many of the agents I've connected to. It's why I wanted to focus on that for this podcast, because relationships are lead generation, right? And there is ways to work in leverage. Even though people think of relationships as being like a one-on-one thing, there is a lot of ways you can utilize leverage in the context of relationship building. That's what I wanted to dive into.
Yeah. So my question is, how do you take it to the next level when you do lead gen? I mean, you specialize in converting leads and let's say, and turning them into the relationship. So what are the key principles in lead conversion that you actually do? What are your key principles? How do you convert, let's say, lead come in? How do you convert it? How do you make it, let's say, a customer from a customer to a client?
Yes. So there used to be a concept called speed to lead that people listening to this podcast have probably heard before, right? Someone tossed around a while. And then I started saying a few years ago, I don't know, I'm not going to take credit for making this up. I'm sure someone else made it up, but I say it all the time. It's speed to relationship. So the world morphed about 2-3 years ago. And I think because consumers became more educated and they can really sense that authenticity from someone, your goal is no longer just to get there. Your goal is to create a relationship as fast as possible. And so one of the things that I talk about all the time is the friendship formula. So if you want to talk about how to convert leads from a really actionable standpoint, this works with any lead. It could be a cold lead, a paid traffic lead, it could be someone in your sphere. Whatever you're trying to do to build a bond, it could be a romantic relationship. Do you know the friendship formula?
Well, what is it?
All right. So have you read the book called The Like Switch? Like, The Like Switch by Jack Schaefer?
No.
It's one of my favorite books on sales training. And he gives inside this book, I probably have a copy on my desk over there. It's a thick book. The best part of the entire book is the friendship formula. If you want to develop a relationship with someone, you want to focus on these 4 factors, right? We've got frequency. I'll tell you all 4 that I'll explain it. Frequency, proximity, duration, and intensity. Frequency, proximity, duration, and intensity. So I'll break them down. First one's frequency. That's how often are you connecting with someone? It doesn't have to be a phone call. It could be a text, whatever. Like how often are you showing? It could even be in their social media newsfeed, right? That's why when we talk leverage, there's so many ways you can show up more often these days without even really doing it like in an automatic way. So frequency is the first one. You want to be more connected, show up more often. The second one is proximity. That's how close you physically are. Like right now, you are sitting where? You're in Seattle, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Okay, and I'm in San Diego, California. I run a team in San Diego, California. We are nowhere near each other. But with the magic of Zoom, it feels like you're hanging out with me.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
We're using technology to create that proximity effect. So when you're trying to bond with a client or convert them, it's why I always train our agents. It's like you want to go from a text to a phone call to a Zoom, or a Zoom or in person, right? You want to ratchet down that level because that proximity, the closer you can get to them, it helps build that relationship faster.
That's interesting. It definitely, that's a human nature. Exactly.
Think about right now, people listening to this podcast, if they're listening to it on a podcast platform with audio only, they're getting part of the experience. If they would go to, where do you guys post this thing? YouTube?
YouTube. YouTube, all the podcasts of that, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, everywhere,
So on Apple Podcasts, maybe they're just listening to the audio version, or maybe they're watching
driving.
The video.
Maybe just on the driving and listening. Yeah.
Right. But if they go to YouTube and they're watching us, the people watching us on video right now, I guarantee we're only, 5, 10, 6 minutes in. They're probably bonding with us already, whether they know it or not, just because they physically, that's that proximity factor.
That's correct. Yeah.
And you guys ever talk about the parasocial relationship?
Want
to hear a big science word? Want to hear a big science word? Okay. I told you I'm a nerd, dude.
You're bringing some cool value right here, brother.
Thank you. So and I'm going to work leverage into this because you got to learn the concepts, and then I'll show you how you can leverage like a virtual assistant or someone else in your back office to help you with all these things. It's pretty cool. So parasympathetic relationship. I've known you for years, but I don't know. Do you watch TV ever?
I don't watch TV, bro.
Okay. Does your spouse, kids, does anybody in your house watch TV?
We have a big TV, but nobody ever turns it on. It's just always off. We don't. All
right,
we don't watch TV, dude.
I love that. I don't watch TV either. But do you ever? So maybe you're not the right person, but have you ever known someone in your company who like binged watched a TV show?
Like Netflix, yeah. Well, my son right now, my 13-year-old son right now is watching Breaking Bad.
Okay. Watch out, because I'm going to tell you something. This is going to scare you. Ready? So as your that's a perfect example. As your 13-year-old son is watching Breaking Bad, he is developing a parasympathetic relationship with the characters in that show. As he watches enough of them over a long period of time, but the more you watch them, quicker and close together, right? Because think about it. If you got the first one is frequency, if he's watching them daily, multiple episodes a day, he's hanging out with these characters a lot. Proximity, he's seeing them on the screen, developing this parasympathetic relationship. Your brain, watch this. I'm going to scare the crap out of you for your son. His brain, your brain, our brains cannot tell the difference between seeing someone on the screen or sitting with them in person.
Wow.
Like theoretically, you understand that I am not in front of you, but your brain, if we did an MRI, would literally look almost identical if I was hanging out with you in person or hanging out with you on Zoom. Your brain lights up the same way. And so your son, he's bonding with Saul. He's creating this relationship. And so like my wife, you remember
like yesterday, he was talking to me about Jesse Pinkman,
Yeah. Okay,
I was like, dude, I forgot about him already, Do
you remember?
It's been a while since I watched that show.
Do you remember the show Friends with like Monica and Phoebe and
Jim? Of course. Okay. Yeah.
So 7 years ago, when my wife was pregnant with our first child, okay, he's 7 years old now. 7 years ago, my wife was pregnant and she got really into watching Friends reruns. Like she was just, she wasn't feeling that great. She was, 8 months in and she just started binge watching Friends. And so I was sitting in the other room, I work from home. And if I do this, you'll probably know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Right? If that sound for the theme song or the intro, the theme song, like I'd hear that song and be like, oh, she's watching Friends. I didn't even watch the show. I just heard their voices from the other room for like a month straight. Like literally she was binge watching. It's like 1,000 episodes for, I don't know, 111 episodes. And so by the end of that time, I thought I was friends with those characters. without even watching them, just hearing their voice.
You knew them. That's crazy.
Like I literally was like, I want to call Chandler and hang out. And so this is how, when you put this in the world of real estate or business, this is how, when you say converting leads, if you start to approach her that way, so we got frequency and proximity, and you develop this relationship, the next two is duration. That's the amount of time you spend with them. It's pretty obvious, right? And you want to start hanging out with your clients more often for longer. And then the last one is intensity. That's the nature of the conversation you're having. If you and I got on here and for the last 10 minutes, I was like, yo, Pablo, how's the weather in Seattle? How's the weather, bro?
Yeah.
What would you say?
I mean, the weather is shitty.
Right. And I'd be like, tell me more. Like, it would be a boring conversation. One, no one would listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
And two, it wouldn't be very bonding between us. But because we're going deep, right? I'm talking about your son. I know your son is watching Breaking Bad. He's 13 years old. Like, dude, how's that feel as a father having your 13-year-old watching Breaking Bad all the time? How's that feel?
Yeah, and he was telling me yesterday, he was telling me about it, about how they were making math and everything. It's like, I mean, did my kid just grow up like so fast? Would I be realizing that?
It's crazy, right? It
is crazy, dude. Yeah.
And see in that moment, if you rewind and you listen to the last minute of the podcast, look at the intensity that our conversation got to. And like Pavel that was vulnerable. He opened up as a dad, like, I'm learning real stuff about you. Like we're bonding. This is cool.
Exactly.
And now you can do this consciously with your clients.
Exactly. And for them, it's going to be unconsciously. So that's the way you build a relationship. And so.
And here, can I work it? Can I work it?
Yeah.
We ask this question. This is how you put leverage in, because this is the leverage podcast. So I have someone in my back office who is a VA who I call my master of everything. Okay.
How do you use this VA? What is she doing?
She's the master of everything, man. She's literally in charge of she's in charge of my calendar, right? So when we talk about productivity in a minute, she's in charge of my calendar, but in a lead generation capacity, or this is more like lead conversion, because you got to generate the leads and then you got to convert them. I leverage her in a sales capacity because she sits in any Zoom meeting that I do. She sits in the meeting just quietly in the back, right? I introduce her. I say, hey, I've got Angela's going to be here. She's going to listen in the background. And just if we have any action items or things to send, she'll take care of that later. Are you comfortable with her sitting here? They say yes. Okay. And then she takes notes. She'll put them in my CRM. She'll schedule the next contact date. She'll take notes on, she knows these 4 factors I just taught you. And she'll take factors on, okay, we need to do this, that. And she'll tell me how to ratchet up the relationship. And she will tell me how to drive it forward. And when I look at my CRM for the next contact, it'll literally have instructions. It doesn't just say, call Bobby Joe. It says, call Bobby Joe and ask about his dog. How is it? How did it go after the vet? Right. And so I don't have to think. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, totally. Yes.
Okay. So
100%,
from a productivity standpoint, I want you to keep asking questions, but don't let me forget to talk about the external brain. Okay, make a note of that. We'll talk about that later.
We'll talk about the external brain. So I mean, what sounds to me that you got to be doing also active listening and building the rapport, right, with the potential lead. And so, do you have any tips for listeners on how to engage in active listening? How do we actually learn how to listen effectively? And build a rapport with people, because not a lot of people know how to do it well.
It is. So here's the good news: listening
is it nature or nurture?
Skill set. I think that listening. Some people it's like a talent, like on a bell-shaped curve. Some people have a natural talent; they're wired that way, or they like people and they want to listen. Most people are listening and already thinking about what they're going to say next. Right, that's how people listen. But truly, if you're focused in listening, you're a great listener, Pablo. I can tell. You are actively listening to what I'm saying. My guess is you probably developed that skill, correct?
Probably. Yeah. Probably. Yeah.
So this is the good news. Skills are trainable. You can develop a skill. If it was a talent, it means that you either can or can't listen. That's not true. It is not a fixed quantity. You can improve your skills. And this is the 6 elements of active listening. I'll give you 6 things. I'm gonna do it from memory because I didn't have this pulled up, but I think I got it. Ready? Number 1. You want all 6? You want 2 of them?
Let's get all 6 out. Let's get them all out.
Actually, you know what? You're a bottom line guy, so let me give you first the easiest way to remember active listening, and then we'll go deeper for the nerds. So this is because Pablo's a bottom line guy. Number 1, you've probably heard this expression: God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
Listen more, talk less. Exactly.
If that's all you remember. In a sales situation, they've done studies. You should be listening 75% of the time and talking 25% of the time. And you want to
just say something, or you say something and shut up and let them talk.
Yeah. Like what if like what we're doing right now, this is very not normal for me. I almost always ask questions and I'm listening the entire time. But since I'm a guest on your podcast, I assume you want me to talk. Otherwise, it'd be
exactly. I want you to talk. That's why you're here, brother. Yeah.
Exactly. Otherwise, when you're a guest on my podcast, right? That's when I ask you questions.
Yeah, exactly. You'll be just keeping quiet and I'll be just, talking. Yeah.
And that is a way that people can develop the skill, by the way. I'll give the 6 elements in a second, but start a podcast, start interviewing people, have a VA who can help you set it up, by the way. So you don't have to worry about that. That's the leverage, right? You don't need, like, this is another thing.
You can get it done. Love.
Yeah. Have them set everything up. All you do is show up. And then you want to get better at listening, practice interviewing people. We're on episode,
exactly. That's one of the things.
Episode 81. Yeah. This is episode 81.
I've been doing it for a while. Yeah.
Right. If we went back and listened to episode 2, my guess is you would not be as, maybe you would. You're a pretty calm guy. But what do you think? Was it episode 2?
I don't know. I mean, they all kind of change from time to time, I guess. But it also depends on the guests. Some guests, I just had a guest prior to you today, and he just kept on going. So I listened. That's fine.
You got to leave pauses. All right, I stalled long enough, by the way, to pull up the 6 elements on my active model.
Yeah, I know. I kind of figured you did. Yeah,
I got it. Ready? Okay.
All right. What's up?
Number 1, honesty. And I'm going to give you all 6, and then I'll explain them. Number 1 is honesty. Number 2 is remaining neutral. Number 3 is having no agenda. Number 4 is staying in context. Number 5
very
is
important, by the way. Yes.
These are all important, but some are more than others. And then the last one is really the big one for me. Listen, don't relate. All right. So I'm going to give you all 6 again. You tell me which ones you want me to cover, if all of them. We got honesty, remaining neutral.
Pretty obvious,
Honesty is obvious, right?
Yeah.
Remaining neutral. Do you get that one?
I do. Yeah.
Okay. So let's pretend, God forbid, you're going through a divorce, right?
Yeah.
Let's pretend, Pavel.
Yeah.
And you're my client. You're a buyer or a seller. You're not even a client. You're a lead, right? And I'm asking you about, hey, you're thinking of move. What's causing you to move? You're like, I'm going through a divorce, right? And I say, so.
Congratulations, dude.
Okay, that's one answer. You can say congratulations, and he's like, "Are you kidding? I'm miserable. This is the worst month."
Yeah, exactly. That's why remaining neutral is very important.
That's it. On the other side, you can say, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and they're like, "Are you kidding? This is the best thing that's ever happened to me. I hated my significant other." Right? But if you come out of neutral, you will never hear the honest truth. That's part of active listening. The next one, having no agenda, that's pretty obvious. If you're not trying to guide the conversation anywhere, like you'll get the good stuff. But it's a catch-22, because you do want to take the conversation somewhere, because you know where you're going to try to book an appointment to convert this client. However, when you're in the active listening portion, drop the agenda. You just want to listen and go with wherever they want to take it. Staying in context. This is the secret to being conversational. You did a great job with this earlier, Pavel. I want to give you a compliment, because I said something and you piggybacked on it, right? Instead of just going down a list of questions when you're like, I'm going to interrogate you with these 10 questions I prepared in advance.
I have a list of questions. My team prepares the list of questions, but I don't necessarily go off of them. So,
And why is that? Why don't you go off them?
Because I'm talking, and depending on the, what my interlocutor talks to me, I mean, I basically, or my podcast guest talks about, I want to remain within the content of that, within the context of that conversation, and not just be totally pulling, things out of the context and basically sound like an idiot,
That's
and besides, it's not going to make the conversation smooth. So I want to have the conversation smoothly and interesting, for both of us.
That's a skill set. You've developed that. And that's why, whether you're doing lead conversion yourself or you're training a virtual assistant to be your ISA to do this, right? Whatever it is.
Yeah.
When people are when someone, like you guys, LP Mama, that script for buyers, right? List, price, location, price. I always forget what LP Mama stands for. But they instead of interrogating someone doing bullet points, if you ask questions and you stay in context, all right, so you're looking for a home in Bellevue. So what's in Bellevue?
That's gonna make you sound natural.
Right. What's in Bellevue? Tell me more about that. Cool. So, right. And you kind of flow with the context. That's active listening. The last 2, asking questions, that's obvious. People think they're listening when they're making statements. If you say something that ends in a period, you're no longer listening. It's got to end in a question mark. And the last one, check this one out. Ready?
Yeah.
Listen, don't relate. So, Pavel, you've got some hats behind you on the desk. You got
Mhm.
a flag, you got a license plate. I'm gonna go with license plate because I happen to know you're a car guy. Tell me about that license plate. What does your license plate say? What's important about it?
It says delegate.
Ooh. Was,
License
was it was
plates
it on a car? Was it on a car? Was it on a car? Was that like on a nice car? Where was that one from?
delegate.
But and obviously that would be their company, like lever, like that's Virtudesk. Like clearly, I know.
Yeah, well, basically that's kind of the idea of what we do. Virtual assistants, we delegate things to virtual assistants. You know,
Yeah.
I have another license plate right there that actually says leverage. So this is the front plate for my car because I have the plate on my on the rear of my car, but I don't have them on the front. So it's right here.
And speaking of cars, I mean, I know you have a pretty nice car, like right? You like cars, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I do. Yeah.
So what are you driving right now?
I have a Lamborghini Urus. Yeah.
Dude, Lamborghini. So I once took a drive in a Lamborghini, man. I was in Nice. I was driving around the countryside. And I'm making this up. I'm going to pause right here. Okay. See what I just did? I
Yeah.
related instead. So
exactly.
If you're active listening, what we want to do is we want to go, you drive a Lamborghini Urus? What's that like, man? Tell me about it. Have you always wanted one?
Yeah.
Right? What color is it?
That's
Like,
basically, yeah. You basically just switch the conversation and pretty much like refocused. And yeah, I can totally see what you're doing. And again, people like to talk about themselves the most, like, and you give them a chance to do that. They love to talk about themselves. They never shut up, and you give them a chance to do that. You just won their heart, brother. That's what happens.
So when you're trying to convert leads, guys, buyers and sellers, just if let's say you're on a listing appointment, you're walking through their house and they got a picture on the wall of a mountain where they like to go skiing, right? And what the average agent is going to do is be like, oh, what mountain's that? It was so-and-so mountain. Really? Well, I love skiing here. And they're going to tell their own story because they think that's bonding. They think that if the seller skis and you ski and you tell your own story, that's not bonding, right?
It's
What
not.
creates rapport is the energy of you caring about what they care about.
Yeah. Well, tell me about it. Tell me about the mountain. Tell me about your ski trip. Oh, nice. How far up did you go? You
Exactly.
know? Yeah, they're gonna be start talking and pretty much just right off from that conversation. That's when I used to sell real estate. That's what I used to do a lot. So I don't know whether it's natural or it's like a skill set, but basically that's how you ride with people. You let them talk.
For you, it's probably a combination of both. My guess is you did it wrong enough times to learn what didn't work, and you intuitively started to understand when I do this, it doesn't go the way I want, so I'm going to do this instead. And you kind of taught yourself. Is that a safe guess?
Sounds like it. Yeah, I think it's just more. I figured, well, the older I get, the smarter I get. Maybe not.
It's just it's TOTOT. Do you know TOTOT?
Yeah.
Do you know what that stands for?
Exactly. No, what is it?
Time on task over time.
There we go.
TOT. Is the older you get, you do get smarter because you spent more time doing this. You made more mistakes. You failed forward enough times that if you go this direction, it doesn't create the results you want. It hurts.
What's experience? Experience means you've done it before and you failed. That's what's experience.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it, man.
Could be. Listen, yeah, I think those strategies are very helpful, Jesse, and for a lot of real estate agents. And again, as somebody, let's say, being a real estate agent is a sales job. Let's just throw it out there. Not a lot of people think it is, and they think it's a consultant. I don't think it's a consultant. It's a sales job. So, what would be your tips to real estate agents who, right now, let's say, okay, let me just backtrack. What would be your tips to the real estate agents who got into the industry, let's say, within the last couple of years, and they found themselves right now with the rude awakening of what market is doing?
So, what my advice would be, if you want it badly enough, you can create success in any market conditions. But this is truly where skill set becomes so much more important. And I love markets like this. I believe this is where, where the successful agents are separated from the rest of the herd. I talked to someone 2 days ago, and it was the most honest answer I'd ever heard. So I do a lot of like recruitment calls these days. And I asked this guy, Pavel, you'll love this. I said, so tell me, he said, my business was great, for the last 12 months, and 3 months ago, it just dried up. I got nothing going on. I said, where did this come from before? Tell me about it. He said, answering my phone, checking my email. Is that not the most honest answer you've ever heard from the last 2 years? Where'd you get your business? I answered my phone and checked my business just fell in your lap. It was just like, yeah, here's business. Okay. Now we got to go back to work. We got to prospect. We got to deepen relationships. It doesn't matter how you do it, whether it's cold lead gen, paid lead gen, warm attraction-based funnels, right? Through Sphere and referral, through channel accounts and people sending you a bunch of, you have to have lead gen. And so for anyone who got in the business 2 years ago, I would say level up your skill set. Figure out what your strengths are, double down on your strengths, and surround yourself with people to play up your weaknesses. If you are not good at paperwork, go get a virtual assistant tomorrow to take that all off your plate. If you are not organized, hire someone to help you with that. Even if your cash flow sucks right now. If your cash flow sucks and you're like, I can't afford it, you're absolutely wrong. You can't afford not to have someone in this market because you need to spend your time doing the only things that matter: lead generation, lead conversion. And if you're not good at lead generation, hire someone for that part of it. Go hire someone lead generation and you do conversion. You got to do some part of it though until you become like a business owner, and then that's a
of course. And Jesse, in one of your talks, when I talked to you before, I mean, you mentioned that you used to live in Southeast Asia for a year, right? So could you just tell me more about that experience as far as you were able to sell houses while you were in a foreign country, right? And you were able to sell houses in San Diego, right?
I sold houses in San Diego remotely. I lived in Thailand. I worked maybe 1 to 2 hours per week. I didn't carry a cell phone. I didn't carry a cell phone for an entire year. I don't know if you know that.
No, I didn't know that. Wow. Tell me more about it.
I literally did not carry a cell phone. So if I could give one gift to the real estate community, it would be to figure out how to put into their life a phone-free block of time every day. Because after not carrying a phone for a year, I'm telling you, we can go deep in that in a minute if you want, but just figure out how to do it. I'll tell you some tips, and we can talk leverage in a sec. But how did I go to Thailand and sell houses? I'm a systems guy, right? So leverage. This podcast is called the Leverage Podcast. Has anyone come on this podcast and defined leverage under three categories yet?
I don't believe so. You got to be the first to do that.
We're on episode 81, and this was taught to me years ago. I want to give credit to Tom Ferry potentially. I don't know where it came from, but I think it was like a few different people.
He may be listening to this podcast.
Yeah. What was that? He listens?
He may be listening to this podcast.
So Tom, I'm giving you credit. I'm giving you credit. I don't know if you taught it exactly this way. I might have made it my own over the years, but I give Tom credit for this. So you're about the same age as me, Pavel. Do you remember the band Stone Temple Pilots from the 90s?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. If you don't know Stone Temple Pilots, there's an oil company called STP. That's where they got the name. But I reference that band because that's how
we're of the same vintage, Jesse.
Yeah, I'm 43. Okay. So STP, Stone Temple Pilots. This is how I remember the acronym. So leverage, to me, the definition of leverage, doing more in less time. And the words are S, systems, T, technology, and P, people. Systems, technology, and people. And the best leverage combines all three of those together. So I'll define what they are. Systems is like a repeated way of doing something. Basically, every time you take a listing, you do the same checklist.
You got to have standard operating procedure for that. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, checklist.
Technology is pretty obvious, right? We're using Zoom to be leveraged, so we don't have to get on planes and fly hours to talk to each other, right? We use Marco Polo to video chat. We have CRMs that automate things. That's obvious. The last one's people. Okay.
People, yeah.
And the multiplier between all of these is money. Money is the thing that makes leverage go faster. The more money you have, you can create better systems, you can use better technology, you can hire more people. You can do it without money. If you're a brand new solo agent listening to this podcast, your people category, you got vendors, you got escrow, title, you got people that are part of your team you can leverage. But I like the part where when I've been a real estate coach for years. If I were to ask people of those three categories, systems, technology, and people, if you could only add in one category that would make the biggest difference in your business, what would it be? What's your guess, Pavel? Which one do you think it is for most people?
Well, it's people, basically.
It's people. That's why you started your company. It's people.
Of course.
They're missing leverage to people.
Leveraging people, yeah.
And so a lot of agents will say, no, it's systems. I need more systems. I'm like, BS, dude. Well, this is not a family podcast. I can curse on this podcast, right?
Of course.
Okay. So, I mean, I typically don't curse, truly just people who know me, they're going to be surprised when I say this, but I just want you to know what goes in my head when I hear this, because I'll ask someone, what do you need to make more money? They'll say better systems. And I'll say, bullshit, dude. It's not true. If I gave you another system, your life's already a chaotic dumpster fire. You have one new system that you can't do anything with either. Congratulations. Like,
Exactly.
you don't need another system. And technology, you got technology you're already not using. Every brokerage on the planet, like this is not an EXP sales pitch. EXP's got great technology, but every brokerage has technology. And we all do. And most
everybody has CRM. Everybody has CRM. Everybody has MLS. Everybody, has Redfin, Zillow you can look into. I mean, this is all there. The marketing tools are all there. It's sometimes even for free or very inexpensive,
So what are you left with?
People who let you do it.
If it's not systems and it's not technology, it's got to be people is the thing you're missing. 95% of the time when I dive into it, when I really drill down, agents, team leaders, team members, they are missing leverage. That's what they need to level up in their business.
Yep. Delegating to the right people, the right tasks, and building the right team. That's the most important, because that's when you truly achieve the leverage. And with your Stone Table pilots, STP, I'm gonna remember that now.
STP, there you go. And I guess I'll pull it together this way. If you have any final questions, but I'll pull it together this way. Has anyone ever, or maybe you teach this? Do you talk about your business being a bus? Do you ever talk about that one?
Being a bus? No, I don't think so. I always tell,
check this one. I like visual.
You're a taxi, not a bus. You don't have to take everybody.
I like that one too. Ooh, I've never heard that one. All right, so the reason I do the bus analogy because it's got a lot of seats. Maybe do an RV if you want. It's got an RV, tour bus, whatever. So you're as a real estate agent, we are all entrepreneurs, whether you define that way or not. Some people think they're salespeople. If you want to exist in this new market, you can't be a salesperson. You got to be a business owner. Have to.
Oh yeah.
You got to think about it that way in this current market we're in. And if you're a business owner, you're driving a bus, right? And your goal as the business owner is to point the bus in the right direction. Okay. Then your goal is to put the right people on that bus, right? Mm-hmm. You got to find the people, whether it's a team you're building, or it's just your back office team, or it's even your affiliates, lenders, inspectors, whatever. And then you got to get the right people in the right seats on the bus. And when you think of it from that context, first, is the bus headed the right direction? That's why, like the things you're doing to buy leads 3 months ago, they're probably not working anymore, right? You got to
probably not even looking. Yeah,
exactly. You got to point the bus in a new direction. And then once you point the bus in a new direction, do you have the right human beings on the bus? If the answer is yes, are they in the right seats?
Right driver, the right conductor, the right mechanic to look at your wheels,
Because you might have a great mechanic, but you got him driving the bus and he's a crappy driver.
Yeah.
Right. And if you moved him to fix the bus, you'd be way better. And so sometimes when you move people around and you figure out where their skill set is, that to me is what I love. There's a creativity inside being a business owner that I don't think a lot of people acknowledge. They think it's really cut and dry. Like, I'm in here to make money. I've always been an artist. Like, I've been a musician most of my life. I can guitar on my wall, right? Like,
I can see that. Yeah.
There's a creativity
guitar guy.
Business. Yeah. I hope this is helpful.
Oh, this is very helpful, Jesse. You provided so much value. This mind blowing, bro. So really love having you on the podcast today.
Thanks, Dave.
Listen, this is amazing, and you've done a lot of great achievements with your business, Jesse. So,
thank you.
Again, I hope to see you in Vegas. I mean, I will see you in Vegas in a couple of weeks.
I think I'm going to see you there, and if anyone else wants to hit me up, I'm on all social platforms, right? Jesse Zagorsky. You can DM me on Instagram, Facebook. You got questions about anything I said. We have podcasts and all this stuff too, and whatever you need, just hit me up.
You guys should. Yeah. So thank you for coming to this podcast. We're just going to wrap it up, and that's it. So